A few of you have read the first book. So we're jumping into early in the second book, but it takes place a few days after the first book. This takes place over a whole summer, just so you know. So it's like a 3-part action-adventure mystery. So our kids they've survived being buried alive in an old mine and all these different things, and they think they know who the bad guy is, but they don't have proof. So they're in a situation where they're trying to just do something to start solving this mystery. So that's sort of the early part of the book. So they're going to break into an old village house looking for an old map that they've heard that a police officer told them about that she had tried as a kid to find. So this was kind of the precursor to the scene. Alright. Okay, here's the plan, Amy said. We wait until it's dark and sneak into old Betty's while she's at bingo. How do we know she'll go? Jack said. By the way, Amy, Jack, and Dana are the kids. It's bingo, Amy said. It's a town sport. Dana asked. Tuesday. Tuesday? That's tonight. Mom and I are going to talk tonight. Amy shrugged. We'll go after. Just don't tell her what we're doing. The moon poked its head out of the clouds as they cycled along the narrow trail. Amy rode deftly through the trees from one moonlit patch to another. Jack followed closely behind her. Dana fumbled with her gears, trying to keep up. She marveled at how well Amy could navigate in the near darkness. Amy knew these trails like the back of her hand. Dana, on the other hand, could barely see and bounced over every tree root and rock as they rode along. When they rode past the school, the parking lot was full. It really did look like the whole town had come and turned out for bingo night. Amy peered through a side door, but she couldn't see everyone in the gym. Are you sure about this? Dana whispered to Amy. How do we know old Betty's in there if we can't see her? What else is there to do on a Tuesday night? Amy motioned for them to continue riding. Amy, I don't know about this. It'll be fine, Jack. Quit worrying. Old Betty's house looked even scarier at night than it did during the day. Dark moonlit shadows hung below the sloping roof, and the shutters creaked in the light wind. It was cool on Dana's hot forehead. This looks like the gingerbread house out of Hansel and Gretel, Jack said as they hid their bikes in the thick forest near the front door. It might just be, Amy said, a slight smirk on her face. Watch for any big Jack-sized pops. Very funny, Jack said. Won't you see the bikes? Dana asked. Not if we hide them with these branches. Amy tucked her bike into the thick leaves and needles of a tree. There, you can't see it unless you look really close. Dana nodded and hid her bike in the same way. Jack tucked his bike in, neatly covering it with pine branches. The green bike disappeared in the dark forest. Very good, Jack. Amy nodded her approval. Come on. Amy climbed the front stairs. The wind picked up with a loud rustling as it blew through the nearby branches. Amy's hair whipped across her face. She tucked it behind her ears. Another storm's brewing, she said. Let's get it in and out fast. Dana stepped up to the door beside her and nervously turned the handle. It was locked. I thought you said nobody locks their doors in Troll Creek. Amy reached over and tried the door. She locked her door. I don't believe this. Maybe we're not the first ones to try to get in, Jack said. We know Officer Riley tried once, Dana added. Was all Amy said. She jumped off the stairs and walked along the side of the house. There must be a way in. Dana watched as Amy tried to push up on one of the side windows. It was stuck fast. I don't think she's ever opened this window, Amy grunted. Dana pushed as well, but it still didn't budge. That's not going to move. That's sealed shut by years of dirt and grime. Amy said this with disgust. Let's try one in the back. They walked around to the backyard. The overgrown garden looked eerie in the moonlight. Dana half expected to see old Benny lunge out of the thistles, swinging her axe. There's another window back here, Amy said. Let's try it. Or we could try the storm cellar, Jack said. Storm cellar? Amy frowned at him. Yeah. Jack was standing near the back wall of the house, pointing down at his feet. Dana stood beside him. Hey, there's a door in the ground. That's the storm cellar, all right, Amy grinned. She knelt down and pulled on the handle. The door opened easily. Well oiled. She uses this a lot. Dana shot her flashlight on the wooden stairs leading down. Awesome, Amy said. Let's hope it connects to the house. She crept down the steps. Jack followed, then Dana. Close the door behind you, Dana, Amy said. Dana climbed down a few steps, then awkwardly pulled the cellar door shut. It was like closing the ceiling. Dana felt claustrophobic. She hurried down the wooden stairs. At the bottom was a pantry with shelves built in the dirt walls. Jack whistled as he shone his flashlight on the bottles lining each shelf. I call this a wine cellar, not a storm cellar. Amy laughed. Old Betty likes her wine, all right. Look at all these bottles. She really does have a collection. Dana stared in amazement at the assortment of bottles stacked horizontally on the shelves. Does she sell these wines at the festival? Amy nodded. Some of them. Mostly just opens for tasting. Yeah, she has stuff from all over the world, Jack said. People line up for hours just to try her different wines. Looks like like there could be bottles here from the days of the old train hijacking, Amy said, peering at a nearby label. Come on, we don't have much time. We need to find a way in. Dana shone her light around the storm cellar. They couldn't see an obvious door, just lots of bottles. Here, Amy said. She squeezed herself between two wine racks. A small door was left in the wall. Amy pulled on it. It opened with a loud creak. This needs oil, Amy muttered. She shone her light into the doorway. Another set of wooden stairs climbed up from the cellar. They followed them to a door at the top, which opened into the kitchen. Dana gulped as they entered Old Betty's house. The kitchen was small and cramped, with pots and pans hanging from the ceilings. Dishes were piled high in the sink, and the table was covered in old saucers and teacups. It felt very cluttered. At least there aren't any Jack-sized cooking pots, Amy whispered. I'm so relieved, Jack said, rolling his eyes. Let's get this over with. So, where's this sock drawer? Dana asked, smiling. In the bedroom, I imagine, Amy said. Come on. Amy led them into the hallway where they crept past the cramped bathroom toward another door. That's got to be the bedroom, Amy said. She tried the door and it swung open. Dana's heart was pounding so hard in her chest, she thought Old Betty would hear it over the bingo collar. The bedroom had a four-poster bed with drapes all the way around it. An old dresser stood against the wall, and a beaten-up chair was sitting by the window. Amy crossed the small room and slid the top drawer open. Officer Riley said Old Betty hid the map in a false bottom in her sock drawer, Amy whispered. This has to be it. She dug through a pile of socks and felt around the bottom. Ugh! These socks smell like they were washed 50 years ago. Well, Dana asked impatiently. Her nerves were on fire. What if Old Betty came home early? What if she never went to bingo at all? Can't feel anything, Amy said. She pulled out all the socks and shoved them in Jack's hand. Amy, Jack protested. Ew, I think they're moldy. He put the socks on top of the dresser. Dana, give me a hand with the drawer, Amy said. Dana grabbed part of the old drawer as Amy pulled it out. They laid it upside down on the floor. Amy felt around the bottom edges. I found something, she said in an excited voice. She pried at a small crack along the side with her fingernails. Here, Dana, your nails are longer. Try to get it off. Dana dug her nails in and pulled. A thin piece of wood came loose and fell away from the drawer. Jack whistled softly. Dana dropped the piece of wood in her excitement. There, flat against the real bottom of the drawer, was a yellow piece of paper. That's it, Amy breathed. Dana carefully peeled the paper away from the wood. Amy shone her light at it. It's a map, Amy exclaimed. Look, there's Troll Creek. She pointed at a cluster of buildings. What are all those lines, Jack asked. We don't have that many roads. Those are all the old mine tunnels. Amy sucked in her breath. It's a map of the old coal mine. And look at this. Amy pointed to what looked like a tight set of jagged lines near the bottom of the map. What's that? Dana asked. That's the gorge, Amy said. This is incredible. We have to get this out of here. Amy, we can't take this map with us. Jack, this is a map of the mine when it was active. All the tunnels in the gorge. We have to take it. But Old Betty will know. No, she won't. I bet she never looks at this drawer anymore. And she has no idea that we know about it. I don't know, Amy. That's stealing. Tell you what, Jack, Dana said. Let's take it and make a copy, and then we can return it. That's a great idea, Amy said. Old Betty will never know we looked at it. Jack frowned slightly. Do you remember how she put her socks in the door? Amy said, no. Come on, the socks. But I looked at those pots and pans in the sink. I don't think she's too organized, Dana said. Come on, let's get out of here and make a copy fast. Dana carefully placed the map inside her jacket, laying it flat against her t-shirt. That'll protect it, she said to Jack. She zipped up her jacket, then tucked it into her shorts to keep the map from falling out. Amy put the false bottom back in the drawer, then she and Dana slid it back into position. Jack awkwardly laid out the socks, wrinkling his nose. I don't think she's ever washed these, he grumbled. Good, then she won't remember what order they were in, Dana said. She probably won't open the drawer for another 50 years. Come on, let's go. They crept down the hall and through the kitchen. Amy tiptoed down the stairs into the storm cellar. Jack followed her, with Dana right behind. Almost there, Amy whispered, as she climbed up the wooden stairs and pushed the cellar door open. A sliver of moonlight shone down into the room. Dana heard a rustle from the corner of one of the wine racks. She turned and shone her light at the sound. A high-pitched scream filled the air as Old Betty leapt out from behind the bottles. How dare you enter my wine cellar! I'm going to chop you to bits! Dana and Jack screamed as Old Betty lunged at them swinging an axe. Dana ducked just as the axe smashed two bottles, sending glass shattering and wine spilling. Run! Amy yelled, grabbing Jack and pulling him up the stairs. Dana reached for a wine bottle and used it to shield herself. Old Betty smashed it with her axe. A hand hooked onto Dana's elbow and dragged her upward. Dana stumbled up the remaining steps and sprinted around the side of the house. They yanked their bikes out of the trees. Ride! Amy yelled. Get your hands off my wine! Old Betty hobbled after them. The axe glinted in the moonlight. Dana and Jack tore down the little road in front of Old Betty's. Dana didn't dare look over her shoulder. She just rode as fast as she could behind Jack. She could feel Amy tucked in right behind her. Old Betty screamed after them, "And never come back, you hear me? If I catch you in my wine cellar, I'll chop your fingers off." They rode until they were almost back to Amy and Jack's house. Amy shouted at Jack to stop. He hit the brakes and stumbled off his bike. Dana's knees gave out and she collapsed on the ground. Jack sat in a heap beside her. "She tried to kill us," Jack said. "She's crazy." "Yes, she is," Amy said grimly, "and a little mad, which is our fault. She tried to chop us up with an axe." "I guess we were warned," Amy said. She put her head in her hands. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let us do that." "I didn't really believe Officer Riley," Dana said. "I thought she was making it up." "You didn't think that would happen?" Jack asked. "No, who does that? Who buries kids alive and threatens to shoot them?" Amy said, shaking her head. She let out a heavy sigh. "Aren't grown-ups supposed to behave better than that?" "Yeah, and I think old Betty was even scarier than the troll." Jack asked her breath. "You okay, Jack?" Amy looked worried. "Yeah, I'm okay. That was just freaky." "It was terrifying," Dana said. "Do you still have the map?" Amy asked. Dana touched her stomach lightly. "It's right here." "How do we get it back to old Betty?" Jack asked. "We don't. We keep it now," Amy said. "We're not going back." "You're right. It's too dangerous." "Why did she tell us Officer McMillan we took it?" Jack said. Amy shook her head. "I don't even notice it's gone. Besides, she sounded more worried about her wine than her house." "She wasn't wearing her glasses," Dana added. "That's right," Amy said. "We probably look like big blobs to her. There's not much to tell Officer McMillan anyway." "She doesn't need to tell him. Her own security system works pretty good." She looked down at her shaking fingers. "Really good." Amy rubbed her temples. "We need to study that map and figure out if it's any use." "Right." Dana carefully pulled the map out of her jacket. It was a big crease, but otherwise undamaged in their escape. "Let's take it home first," Amy said. "We need better light." They rode back to the house in silence. Dana's legs trembled so hard it was difficult to pedal. They stumbled up the spiral staircase and climbed the steep stepladder to the attic. Amy spread the map out on the desk in the study, which was now Dana's room. "Where will we hide it?" Jack asked. He rummaged through the drawers of the big oak desk. "I think the best hiding place is on ourselves," Amy said. "I don't want this map separated from us, not after we're the ones who get it." Dana nodded in agreement. "Now, let's look at this map."